And that's really the unique properties of iron nitride. It's very strong magnetically, and it has these really low-cost raw material inputs. So essentially, wherever you've got steel making and fertilizer manufacturing going on nearby, we can set up a magnet factory, all domestically sourced raw materials. And so that was the start of our journey. We knew what we wanted to make more than a decade ago. But to cost effectively make that and scale it, that's where a lot of the innovation and technology comes in beyond just the material itself. But yeah, I'm very excited about scaling that and building those facilities around the world to support this, right? This is for me, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm a materials guy. I've never seen an opportunity like this.
Hey everyone, it's Arick Wierson, and welcome to another episode of Leverage Storytelling presented by Tunheim. And today I'm here with Jonathan Rowntree, the CEO of Niron Magnetics. John, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me on today.
We're here to talk about a company that's truly magnetic, which is Niron Magnetics, which is one of the hottest companies here in Minnesota. In fact, probably one of the hottest companies, I think, in sort of the tech space nationwide and maybe even worldwide. Just for people that don't know, give us the 60, 90-second version. What is Niron Magnetics?
So at Niron Magnetics, we've developed the world's most powerful magnet technology, completely free of critical minerals and rare earths, which is a big hot topic in the world today. Most permanent magnets today are made from rare earth materials that are made in China, and they control more than 90% of the supply chain. And at Niron, what we've done is we've developed a material called iron nitride. It's a spin out of the University of Minnesota about a decade ago. And iron, the most recycled material on the planet, nitrogen, almost 80% of the air that we breathe, and so very abundant. And so we've made our technology using those materials. And we are commercializing and scaling that here in Minnesota. And why is that a big deal for the world? Magnets themselves? It's because the modern world runs on magnets, right?
Which a lot of people don't know that.
They don't. They're kind of the unsung heroes of everyday life that make our lives better. So your cell phone has 18 to 20 magnets in. Your car has more than 75 different magnet applications.
What is it essentially used for in all these applications?
It's basically electrified motion. And so using electricity to move something, you need a magnet in most cases. And so what that does is the magnet helps you to move something using electricity. So about 40% of the world's electricity today is used, in electrified motion. So it needs a magnet to make something move.
So obviously there's applications across, you mentioned cell phones, but I would say defense, aviation, even your microwave probably has some sort of magnets in it, right? So it's the applications are vast. What's the size of the market? What's the TAM, as they say, the total addressable market?
Yeah, for high performance magnets today, it's around 28 billion. It's projected.
That's global.
Global. Mm-hmm. It's projected to quadruple here over the next 10 years. And the electrification, of everything is really what's driving that. But I actually think it's going to grow more than that because a lot of the emerging applications. So we're thinking about AI, think about data centers. They use a lot of magnets in those data centers to do cooling, so airflow in fans, liquids through pumps and motors. But really, when you think about physical AI, so to do something in the real world or physical world with AI, you need electrified motion. Today, if you look at all the rare earths being mined for high-performance magnets, there's enough that are actively going to come online to probably double the amount of magnets in the world, but the actual volume increase is triple, if not more. And so, Niron's technology plays a key role in filling that gap with our technology.
Now, you alluded to the geopolitics around magnets, and obviously, I think you said China has the lion's share of the magnet industry. Talk a little bit more about the geopolitics around this.
So these high-performance magnets that we use today were developed in Japan and the US, right? There were two teams, a GM team and then a team in Japan. But then during the 90s and 2000s, the process to make them it's long, it's complex, it's also environmentally not great. And so that kind of all moved to China. And so since that time, China has really developed a lead in processing those types of magnets. And China really owns that whole supply chain, every single step in it, not just the last step.
And talk a little bit about, just not to go on a super long tangent here, but talk about sort of the environmental consequences of that process.
So early on, you have to crack and leach, which
sounds bad.
It is, right? So the crack is with an acid, a very strong acid, and then the leach is with a solvent. And so you've got acids and solvents that are being used. And so, the numbers that are kind of order of magnitude here is for every ton of magnet you make several thousand tons of hazardous waste. The other challenge is a lot of where those rare earths are is also thorium. and thorium's a radioactive material. And so not only do you have these big lagoons in China that they're very acidic and have a lot of acid in them that are bad. Nothing grows there. Then they're also radioactive too, so causing serious health concerns for the local population.
So this is if we did not have alternative technologies like what Niron is doing. This is what we'd have to do at scale to basically keep up with growing demand.
Yes, and in the West, there's Western rare earth companies that are coming online and are being supported by the government to try and start to fill the gap. The challenge here is that we need, it's not enough, right? There's going to be a lot more demand than there is supply, even with those Western rare earth mines and magnet makers coming online.
Earlier you talked about what the size of that market was in dollars and cents. What is it in terms of like tonnage?
Yeah, about 300,000 tons global demand. And then if you look at the US uses around 50,000 tons.
I think in many regards, you're the poster child for what successful technology companies look like here in the state. Talk a little bit about your relationship with the state of Minnesota. I know you have a big factory that you're building in Sartell. I know you're also going to be expanding elsewhere in the United States. I don't know if you've concluded that process yet, but talk a little bit more about sort of your relationship to the state and to the Midwest.
Yeah, yes, it's been critical for us. So we were born out of the University of Minnesota. Professor Jumping Wong there at the university, he really figured out what we wanted to make. And so that was the start of our journey. We knew what we wanted to make more than a decade ago. But to cost effectively make that and scale it, that's where a lot of the innovation and technology comes in beyond just the material itself. The magnet market is cost competitive, so at scale, we need to get to a manufacturing process and scale that allows us to be competitive with Chinese-made magnets. And that's really the unique properties of iron nitride. It's very strong magnetically, and it has these really low-cost raw material inputs. So our source of iron are iron salts, which is a byproduct of steel making, and our source of nitrogen is ammonia, which is used heavily here in the Midwest in fertilizer manufacturing. So essentially, wherever you've got steel making and fertilizer manufacturing going on nearby, we can set up a magnet factory, all domestically sourced raw materials, really eliminates any reliance really on China. And then in one factory under one roof, we can go from raw materials all the way to finished product.
What is the plans with this new factory that you're building in Sartell? What is the sort of what is the goal in terms of output that you're looking to create?
So we're building a 1,500-ton facility. It's a scaling facility, and we're targeting here that facility to basically prove out and commercialize our first products in market. And they're going to be in audio, communications, and small and medium-sized motors. So we're building those right now with customers and qualifying that. So an exciting time as we're really enabling these devices with customers, and at the same time building our first manufacturing plant. And so that will come online late next year. But as I mentioned earlier, 50,000 tons, 1,500 tons is great, but it doesn't really move the needle much on 50,000 tons.
2-3%.
Yeah. So we're really now targeting a 10,000 ton facility.
Let's talk about labor availability for a second. We talked about the company in terms of its revenue. We talked about it in terms of its tonnage output, but let's talk about it in terms of jobs. How many people are working at Niron? What's the growth? What do you anticipate in terms of hiring?
Yeah, so we are around 160 employees as of today. When I started 3 years ago as CEO, we had 30 employees, right? So growing very quickly. In Minneapolis, we'll add probably another 40 or 50 people this year. And then in Sartell, when we're at 1,500 tons, we're anticipating around 175 employees. And then the 10,000 ton plant I mentioned is more like 600 employees.
Wow.
Yeah, so significant job creation. And these are high-tech manufacturing jobs. They're well paid because our processes are going to be automated, and so there needs a high degree of skilled labor to be able to operate those plants. And so when you look at where we're citing, power, technical labor availability are important, and obviously state incentives too, and the cost of power and the reliability of power are also important. And so that's what we're working through now over the next few months to down select on that 10,000 ton facility.
Now, I understand you're in the midst of or at least in the foothills of a Series E financing. And I know that once you get kind of beyond B or C, that ship has kind of sailed in terms of acquisition. You're probably eyeing an IPO. Is that a correct assumption?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, plan A for us, probably plan A, B, and C is an IPO in the next 2, 3, 4 years. It'll depend a little bit on our progress in the market. But that's the path that we're on. We're not actively out fundraising yet. We are continuing to, basically qualify customers across, a number of different applications. But we do anticipate here sometime, later this year going out to do a Series E fundraising. more recently, we've started to look at how do we, the applications that we use our product in. And so we're partnering with the Department of Energy grant, but also with Stellantis to develop a new type of motor called variable flux memory motor, which is we can take the best properties of our magnet, the balance of properties it has, and pair it with the best motor design to give actually more efficient motors. And so we're excited about that program. We've done a lot of the simulation work. Now we're actually building those motors. And so we're really excited here later this summer to see those motors come to the real world and test them and making sure that what we said we could do with the simulation, actually the real world manifests in that device. And the reason we're so excited about that is it's like being able to tune the magnet in the vehicle when it's running. And you can't do that with the high performance rare earths today. They don't, their balance of properties is different.
The name of this podcast obviously has the word storytelling in it.
Yeah.
Talk about Niron and your ability as a storyteller. What do you think is important to convey as you tell the story of Niron? Who really needs to understand what you're doing? Obviously, it's a B2B company. It's obviously a highly technical sale on one hand, but obviously you're a major piece of the fabric of the local economy. Maybe you could reflect on that a little bit.
We talked about the University of Minnesota before that. That's really important at the earlier stages of where we were. But there's a lot of Fortune 500 companies headquartered here. There's a lot of talent that we've been able to pull from that we could take that expertise and capability and start to build what we need in terms of that, right? Because in the early years for us, it was very much technical talent, but now it's really scaling talent, not just manufacturing, but we need systems, right? It's fascinating to me whenever we look, we find part of the ecosystem here that we can plug into. And so that's really important, when you're building and growing, because you can't do everything yourself. You need to have partners that you can trust and rely on. And that's been an important part of why we've been, successful, is the ecosystem that we build and continue to build. For us to really scale now, we need more partners, right? So we announced that we're working with Ryan. They're a big local headquartered builder here, nationally recognized builder. They're helping us with our first manufacturing plan. We're working with a big engineering firm called Wood. They're our EPC company. And so as we build here, you need to plug into those other resources that can help you successfully scale and grow.
For many years, I used to work for the mayor of New York City, Mike Bloomberg, and spent a lot of time with him. And obviously, before becoming mayor, he was a very successful entrepreneur. And he used to tell me that, he was sort of a unicorn in the sense that obviously he's a unicorn, he's a multi-billionaire. But he used to tell me that generally speaking, there are CEOs that are really great at sort of taking an idea off paper and getting it from, say, 0 to, let's say, 5 million. And then there's another type of CEO which is great in terms of going from, like, say, 5 to 50. And then there's the 50 to 500 or, 5 billion, whatever it is. And obviously you came in, not in the beginning, somewhere in that, I don't know if revenue is the right way to measure it, but you kind of came in sort of as it was a little bit of a more mature idea, a little bit more mature company. Do you feel like you are a scaler? That's your sort of, core secret. Let's call it your superpower.
Yeah, I that is one of my superpowers. But I'm a 30-year materials veteran. And so I came here from much larger companies, Fortune 500 companies, where the last 10 years of my career really running, large electronic materials businesses globally with thousands of employees. I love to scale. My background's technical. I love to commercialize new technology. But the runway on our technology, the scaling part of that is going to go on for a long time, right? And that's why I'm really excited because, we talked before about 300,000 tons, right? And it's going to triple in the next 10 years. And so our scaling journey here is probably decades. And I love to develop new materials.
You're in your early 30s, so you got plenty of time to go.
Yes, I wish. But yeah, I'm very excited about scaling that and building those facilities around the world to support this, right? This is for me, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm a materials guy. I've never seen an opportunity like this and thoroughly enjoying really scaling the business. It's a real challenge, right? Scaling new technology, especially new materials, is hard. That's why it's called hardware or hard tech. But really thoroughly enjoying the challenge. And, I have a fantastic team behind me, right, that we continue to add to. We have talent way beyond what we have the right to expect, in terms of the journey, where we're at in the journey that we're on.
Well, listen, it's been exciting talking to you. I wish you the best of luck. And thanks so much for being on the podcast.
All right. Thank you very much.
For Leverage Storytelling, I'm Arick Wierson. We'll see you next time.